All. Let's start now. And you all are very welcome to our second SHE webinar. And my name is Mari-Riita Sormunen, and I come from the University of Eastern Finland, which is situated in Finland, obviously. And the theme for this webinar is school staff and well-being, and related to today's subject. And as we know, positive staff well-being can increase productivity and engagement and improve job satisfaction. In the school setting, it means that staff are better able to support pupils and each other and to contribute to learning success and educational quality. However, a question arises that how can we build a sustainable school culture that keeps staff well-being in mind, even these times of uncertainty that we have been seeing in past years and that we see now. And we will explore this field today with two expert presentations focusing on the promotion of occupational well-being in school communities by Professor Terhi Saaranen from University of Eastern Finland, and school staff needs and the COVID-19 pandemic by Assistant Professor Veronica Velasco from University of Milano, Bicocca. And I warmly welcome both of you. It's great that you are here with us today. And I also have a pleasure to facilitate this event with my dear colleague, Professor Kevin Daraczynski. And before I giving a floor to present the Mentimeter results, I notice all of you that this webinar will be recorded, and I started the recording already. And it will be available afterwards in the SHE website. Also, we ask that you can mute your mics during the presentation and ask basically the questions and comment to the webinar presenters in the Zoom chat mainly. And we will come back to the questions and comments after each presentation. Okay, now Kevin, please.
Thank you so much. I would like to welcome you as well. My name is Kevin Daraczynski. I'm from Fuller University of Applied Sciences in the middle of Germany. For those who are uncertain, this is an English-speaking webinar. I would like also to invite or to say hello to our two presenters, Veronica Velasco from Italy and to Terhi Saaranen from Finland. Very happy to have you here today. This is the second webinar of the research group of the Schools for Health in Europe network. If you are not familiar with the Schools for Health in Europe network, please check the web page. We will post it in the chat in a few seconds. I have invited you to fill out or to answer 3 quick questions before we start with the presentations, and I hope you have found some time to do so. If not, that is not a problem. I will paste it here in the chat once more. If you have not answered the questions, you can do so while I am presenting the results. So I'm even not sure if we have some results. So let me check this first. Yeah, we have some results. That looks good. So I will share the screen for you. And let's go to this one here. I hope this works for you. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. We asked you 3 questions, and the first question was, please rate how important you think the following health issues are for school staff since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And what you see here are the mean values that can range between 1 and 4, which means the higher the mean values, the more importance you attached to these different health issues. And what we see here is that you attached most importance to the issue of healthy eating and nutrition and physical exercise and sports. And this is followed by substance use, for example, alcohol and tobacco. And little less importance has been attached to the issues of stress and coping, internalized problems, anger management, and impulse control. I see it's moving a little bit because there's someone who's taking part right now. So it changed a little bit. So stress and coping became a little bit more important right now. But it stays that healthy eating and nutrition is rated as the most, or as the item with which receives most highest importance for you. So we see, maybe through the presentations, if this fits with the research. I would like to go on to the second question that we have. We have asked you, when you think of school staff, which occupational groups do you address in school health promotion activities? Here exactly the same holds true. Higher values, meaning values that go into the direction of 4, speak for less, for an issue that, or for a target group that you address less frequently, and here values of 1 speak for the case that you address them more frequently. So you see, you address teachers and service staff more often compared to school principals and headmaster and non-teaching staff. This is also very interesting. When we talk about school staff, what comes into your mind when you first think about it? And I think mostly, at least that holds true for me, I think of teachers. But when you talk about school staff, this is not the only occupational group that you have to deal with. And here you see some other occupational groups that are very worth to look at in school health promotion. We'll maybe hopefully talk about that during the following hour. And the last question that we asked you was, how would you describe the main benefits of occupational school health promotion in 3 words? I'm not sure if you've done this because we cannot see something. Maybe that's about me. No, that's not the case. So maybe this is something that is open at the moment. But this is something that we should, of course, discuss during this hour to see what, in your perception, are the main benefits of occupational school health promotion. I'm pretty sure we will have some, some advices or some issues that are presented during the presentations. So we will maybe come back to this one. If you would like to answer this question, please do so. This questionnaire is still open, but let's stop at this point and let's start with the presentations now. I will hand back over to Margarita.
Thank you so much, Kevin. These results, of course, if we had more persons to answer, they would be even more interesting to see, but these are very nice. And like Kevin said, that we can continue answering those questions during the presentations.
Let's switch to the second presentation first, and then after that we go back to Tay. So Veronica, I'm so happy to have you here, that we have you here in this webinar. Veronica Velasco, you are an assistant professor of occupational and organizational psychology at Binano Bicocca University. I hope I pronounced it correctly, in the psychology department, and your research area concerns health promotion, school well-being, and the prevention of addiction and other risk behaviors, with particular interest in the design, evaluation of health promotion programs and policies. You currently represent the Lombardy region in the Schools for Health in Europe network, and you're also a member of the SHE board, and SHE is the Schools for Health in Europe network, of course. But you're also a member of the COVID Health Literacy Network, and you also collaborate with various public bodies involved in health promotion with national and international research groups in this field. In your presentation today, you will focus on school staff needs to face the COVID-19 pandemic as health promoting schools. So we are really curious, we are really interested to hear more about this, and I would like to hand over the digital floor to you. Good to have
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. I hope that everything will work. Let's see. Okay.
That looks perfect. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so my presentation will focus on school staff needs during this pandemic, and in particular, the needs related to the challenge to be a health promoting school in this difficult situation. If we look at the literature about teacher well-being, we know that teachers are characterized by both high levels of burnout, and actually we often consider them as vulnerable population, but also of high levels of well-being, engagement, and job satisfaction. And if we try to understand which variables can influence these positive and negative outcomes, we have to consider both individual variables, such as self-efficacy, but also organizational variables, such as the school principal support, teamwork, or community work. And of course, there are many theory and models that trying to understand how individual and organizational variables can influence the teacher's well-being. And one of the most used and recognized model is the job demand resource model that consider the importance of both positive and negative outcomes and consider the importance of job demands and job resources. So if we think about the pandemic, we know that the demands for school have increased a lot. They had to change everything immediately, very fast. They had a fast digitalization. They had to do distance teachings. New students' needs emerge, but also new school staff needs emerge. They have to face several emotions, as we all have to do, like fear, fatigue, and so on. And also new organizational strategies were necessary to face with the new rules to prevent the virus spread and to face all the changes, the continuous changes. But what about resources? Of course, if we think on a health promotion perspective, we have to understand which are the resources that we can offer to school in order to promote school staff well-being. But to understand the results, I think that we have to think about what are the school staff needs during the pandemic. And in this presentation, I will try to answer this difficult question, focusing both on teachers and school principals. To do that, I will refer to 3 studies we carry on during the pandemic. They are all studies focusing on how health promoting schools or health promotion programs and activities can support schools during the pandemic. They involved both school teachers and school principals. We carry out these studies in the Lombardy region, which is in the north of Italy, and is one of the first European areas involved in the pandemic, in particular in the first wave, with a very huge impact. And we also use both qualitative and quantitative methods, but I have to say that the qualitative methods, I think, are more informative in this case because we have to better understand the needs. And I will also compare some of the results with the HBC teacher survey. We call this survey that way because it's a survey we realized together with the HBC students survey in Lombardy region since 2007, that I think it's a very well-known survey. And it involves all the teachers of the classes sample for the student survey. And we aim to investigate teachers' well-being, identify individual and organizational factors that can influence work well-being, and explore perceptions about the teacher's professional role and about health promotion representation and activities. So I will present some results from the survey of 2018 that involved about 1,400 teachers. And in a month, we will do the new data collection related with the new HBC survey. So I try to put together the result of these different studies, and I identify 4 main needs of school principals and teachers. The first one is related to the methodological support they need to do active and cooperative teaching. Actually, all our participants recognize the importance of developing skills and using active and cooperative teaching. However, they all struggle in using this method. For example, a school principal say learning is a dynamic, theoretical, practical, and experiential process that places the student at the center as a unique individual. Unfortunately, in recent months, this issue has taken a backseat due to the need to limit COVID infection. Or some teachers, for example, say that everything that is experiential among children is very difficult, or that it's very difficult of working in small groups. So what the school principals say to us is that they need to return as soon as possible to talk about learning. They say to us, in the last year, we only work on policies, on limitations or prevention of the virus spread, on the new rules, but we need to talk about learning again. And if we focus on teachers, we ask to some teachers how they felt able to face some of the professional tasks related with health promotion and active learning. And what we can see is that their self-efficacy is lower when we refer to offer group work activities, or to diversify activities according to students' needs, or to offer the opportunity to students to move during the day at school, during the lessons or between lessons, on to promote life skills. So these aspects are for all of us very crucial, because they are all very related with the health promoting school, but the teachers felt to be not so efficacy in doing that. Of course, this study has a low sample because it was focused only in one city, but if we compare this result with the result of the teachers HBC study, we found similar results. So again, we asked about their self-efficacy, and we found lower levels relating to cope with change in pedagogical method and in motivating students that are both related with active learning and cooperative learning. But we can also think about how to promote this self-efficacy. And of course, the first person we think about is the school principal, because also in previous study, we saw that the school principal is one of the main resources to promote teachers' well-being. So we try to understand better how the teachers perceive the school principal support, and we use a validated scale that distinguishes between emotional support, instrumental support, informative support, and appraisal support. And what we found is that the instrumental and appraisal support is less perceived than the other kind of support from teachers. So the support that are related with the everyday practice, the feedback about what they do in class or with the students are less perceived. But if we look on the association between the school principal support and the teacher self-efficacy, we found that the appraisal support is the only one who is significantly associated with the self-efficacy. So again, to trying to promote other kinds of support to teachers is of course a need that they have and a challenge for the future. A second need they told us is related with new relational ways and new relational difficulties they have to face. So for example, in one study, we asked about the obstacles they found in implementing a life skill education program during the pandemic. And they refer several obstacles related with interpersonal aspects. So they said that it was difficult to manage the communication with the student during the pandemic because of verbal and non-verbal communication. It was difficult because of the body absence or the body distance, according they were at the distance or presence. And so the eye contact or the proximity is more difficult during the pandemic. But it's also difficult to guarantee a continuity in the relationship because of the closure of the school, of the quarantine of some students, and so on. But it was also difficult to involve the students and promote their disclosure. So as you can see, they found several obstacles and many other I didn't report here, but I have to say that also they were able to find solutions for these obstacles. So in the study, we collect several strategies that the teachers were able to implement during pandemic, to implement a life skill education program, and to solve all these obstacles. So this is related with the third need. That is a need of sharing and of network. They ask us the creation of a network and the exchange of information and best practice. They need space and time to interact with each other. And the school principal in particular underline this aspect because they said in our school, we are the only one who have this role, we are alone, and we need opportunities to share ideas, to reflect on practice, to share what we have done, or to have new ideas with other school principals. And so both teachers and school principals need moments to share what is happening to them, to share what is happening to their students, and to create a common meaning, a common significance of what is happening. And the first need is related to the community support and the development of co-responsibility. And this need is particularly relevant when we refer to vulnerable situations. So for example, they ask support in defining vulnerabilities and inequalities. A school's principals say everyone talks about inequalities, but few recognize them. How do we do it? They say there are so many kinds of inequalities and vulnerabilities. Some are well recognized, like for example, the students who have certifications for special needs, or maybe the family who doesn't have access to digital devices. But there are so many other kinds of inequalities related, for example, to how the students learn. And so that are improving, becoming higher during the pandemic. And so they think we need help, we need the situations to understand which are the different kinds of inequalities and to understand together how to face that. And we need to face together these vulnerabilities. And so they say we need new organizational models to face this situation. We need intersectoral collaborations. So in conclusion, the health promoting school, what is it? It is a demand, it is a resource. Because the SHE has published this document, and I wrote this document for the SHE about the importance of health promoting school in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we say that it's very important to implement health promoting school approach, but we don't know if the school consider this a demand, and sometimes they say that to us, or a resource. And what we found in our study is that the school involved in our network recognize health promoting school as a crucial resource to face the pandemic, because this network was able to answer to all the needs I just presented you. So for example, the health promoting school make available some evidence-based program of good practice that has been adapted to the pandemic situation, that help teachers and school principals in facing relational problems or to promote more active learning. And the second thing is that they offer an organizational structure that allow collaborations, an intersectoral collaboration between the educational and the health system, but also networks between schools, between the school and the community, and so on. And so I think that my time is over. So I thank you, and I hope you have some comments.
Thank you so much, dear Veronica, for this very impressive presentation, which gives us so many insights and room for thought and food for thought, not room, food for thought. But first of all, I would like to invite you, dear participants, to raise your questions or whatever is in your mind. Please raise your virtual hand, and we're happy to receive your questions or comments. And we are also happy to see your faces. Okay, then I would like to start a little bit like an icebreaker. So thank you very much for pointing out that the health promoting school is part of the solution. So this is a very important message that we can share. But do you see also a need to restructure or to reorganize the health promoting school approach to make it more fit in those in times of crisis as the COVID-19 situation? Have you discovered something that needs to be reorganized or rebalanced in a way?
Yes, of course. In the study I referred to, we tried to reconceptualize the health promoting school during the pandemic, and I think that many things are still that still fit with the actual situation, but of course some adaptations are needed. And one of these adaptation is related with the school principal role, because the school had to face so many changes, and the teachers need so many support that the school leader has a huge role. And of course, teachers started also working at a distance, and so the leadership of the principal was very important. But also, of course, some practice had to be adapted because, of course, the needs were different. And change all the time, because, of course, the needs are different when we are in lockdown. We hope to don't go back to lockdowns, but of course, we're different. And so this was necessary. And so on. And so, for example, well, they recognize some aspect that you are very familiar with, like literacy, because of course they recognize the importance of this skill. And so, yes, of course, both things. And I think that also the collaboration between the educational system and the health system changed, because maybe before it was very focused on a specific activity, a specific program, while now it was more related with everything, with the planning together and involving the entire community. So it's like it's expanding the idea of the health promoting school.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you addressed very different issues that might be important here. You mentioned health literacy as one of the topics that came on the agenda with such an impressive pressure in a way, because you have to deal with all these health-related information. It's not only a topic for pupils, but also for teachers, or as well as for principals. You named, and I'm very glad that you did that, the leadership that has to be changed from more offline or presence to more remote leadership skills that are necessary here. So thank you very much for this. We have another question that comes from Miriam, and she asks, do you have school nurses? And when yes, how does they work in the pandemic? Do we have it in Italy?
In Italy, we don't have school nurses because many years ago, the health system decided to include all the health services also related with school in the community. So we have all the health system involved in the community, and they strictly collaborate with the school, but we don't have school nurses. Of course, in these couple of years, the health system strictly collaborated with those schools, both for the managing of the infections and to monitoring the cases and so on, but also for health promoting activity. And what we have now is a school psychologist in some schools, And for example, I'm collaborating with our association of the psychologists to understand how the school psychologists can promote a health promoting approach and a whole school approach. So because often school psychology work with a single student or a single teacher, but to foster a whole school approach and an organizational perspective.
Mm-hmm. Thank you
I
so
don't
much.
know if I answered the question, but
yeah, but I think what important, what we see as an important factor is to collaborate with those health professions or with the professions from other backgrounds, from the health or from the organization of psychology or health psychology sector, or from the nursing field or from other fields. I think this is something that we can learn from the pandemic to work together from various disciplines.
yeah.
Is there any question you would like to ask to Veronica? We would have room for one question. Okay, if this is not the case, oh yes, it's Margarita, of course.
Thank you. I just couldn't find the raising of the hands. But anyhow, thank you so much, Veronica. This was again so interesting presentation. I think you have been presented a lot, that you have much to say for us, and that's great. And what my initial comment was that I think we are now going from one crisis to another, and to emphasize the health promoting school approach in any cases. I think that's very important, and that's important to keep in agenda all the time and highlight the efforts and the good things that this approach has. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree. I think it's, and I like that it's not our thought, but the school principal and school educators involved in our network say that in our study. So they said the health promoting school approach offers us a framework to see and face the changes and the challenges we have to face, because they say this is a framework that helps us in focusing not only in vulnerabilities and limitation, but also on resources, and to focus not only on individual, but on organization and communities and so on. So I say that the schools involved in the network are proud to be in the network now as they never done, because it's like they found in a crisis situation, they recognize that this approach can be a solution to face the crisis and the difficult period, and also the network, because sometimes we know the way that we have to force the collaboration between schools, while in this situation they ask for situation to share ideas and to say, okay, how are you doing that? And so, yes, I think that it's very, very important.
Yes, I think we all can agree with that. So I think we have to close this discussion now with Veronica. Thank you once more. But now I have a pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Terhi Saaranen from the University of Eastern Finland. And Terhi is a professor in nursing science, especially in the area of health pedagogy. And she's been developed research and teaching in the field, for example, teacher education in nursing science, and taught bachelor's, master's, and postgraduate students in nursing science and continuing education programs. And her research, teaching, and social activities are focused on health education, health promotion in different contexts, and in long-term health problems, for example, job burnout, stress and related treatment and prevention among students and workers in a digital society. She's been involved in the SHE as a researcher and research group member for a very long time. And since 2021 also, she's been involved as a member in the European Healthcare Teacher Network. And the title of Terhi's presentation is Promotion of Occupational Well-being in School Communities. So we are very happy to have you here, Terhi, and very excited to hear your presentation. Please, the floor is yours. No problem.
So welcome and thank you for your invitation to this seminar. So I started in this network, School for Health in Europe, about 20 years ago as a doctoral student. And the network name was a little different, but this network has been very important to me, a long history to me. So Marita tell that I come from University of East Finland, and first I think to tell something of it, that we have about 16,000 degree students and about 23,000 adult education students this time. And we operate 2 campuses. We have campuses in Kuopio city and campuses in Joensuu city. Kuopio is about 400 kilometers from Helsinki, so shortly from our university. And then my workplace is the Department of Nursing Science, which is the separate department in the Faculty of Health Sciences, and we have a quite small department. We have about 30 employees, and our particular focus area is intervention research on operating environments related on health promotion, clinical nursing, and health education. And then I tell shortly from the content and why occupational well-being research and its development, theoretical basis to staff occupational well-being. I tell from content model, then I tell action research as a method and benefits for the education organization. And why occupational well-being research and development? Changes in working life, for example, digitalization, aging population, corona pandemic, and the connection to occupational well-being also reflected in the work of teachers and all staff in national and international level. And based on the research results, teachers have occupational stress and psychological burden. And we know that based on Finnish study, half of teachers were satisfied with their workload, and most teachers felt that workload was evenly distributed during the academic year. And when teachers are doing well, we know that teaching is better, more productive, more committed to work, less sick leave, and longer careers. And I think that the development of well-being at work requires theory and models and practical examples. And in this presentation, I present the theoretical basis how to develop the occupational well-being. I will describe the action research process, which allows us to develop practice on research basis. So my work in developing occupational well-being has been long-lasting. I started my dissertation in year 2001, and it was action research project in East Finland, where we developed the occupational well-being of school staff with occupational health nurses and in 12 schools. And after that, I was as a researcher in Comenius program, where we aim was to develop occupational well-being of school staff in 4 countries, and the countries were Germany, Ireland, Italy, and Finland. And my postdoc research was the action research project in Finland and Estonia in 2009 to 2014. And now is going the project titled Occupational Wellbeing Education, which is umbrella term to several research and development projects in the field of education. And these projects are social and healthcare teachers' occupational well-being in Finland and promoting the occupational well-being of social and healthcare teachers in Finland and Estonia. And I say that we need a theoretical basis, and this content model has been developed in cooperation with school staff and occupational health nurses and researchers, and we have used quantitative and qualitative methods. And why theory and content model for promotion of school community staff occupational well-being? I think that tested theories and product models can help in two ways. First, the model developed specifically the workplace health promotion helps the identifying needs in the school community. And the second, the model offers a starting point for evaluating intervention and thus increases the dissemination of good practices, as well examines the effectiveness and outcomes of interventions. And this way, theory development and modeling help school community staff in planning, executing, and evaluating in this process. And next slide. This is the same model, and if I want to say that this model consists of 4 aspects: work and work community, professional competence, and working condition. And if we what example working community means, it means work management, organization, leadership, support, social support, information, and so on. And we see that occupational well-being is an empowerment process, and empowerment means that resources and workload factors for employers are in balance with the demands in the job. But I mean that this balance with work and working community, working condition, and professional competence in these aspects. When this is a balance of resources and risk factors, so which comes from different aspects of occupational well-being, it is possible for individual workers and the entire staff of working community became empowered and reached the optimal occupational health and well-being in this situation. And based on early projects, I think that we need intervention and actual research studies, and that's why I have done especially action researches in my project. And action research proceeds as a spiral cycle where planning, action, observation, reflection phases occur several times. These names are not always the same for the phases, and they are partly overlapping depending on the research methods used, and it is possible that these phases are called slightly different names also. And in these phases, these are planning, action, observation, and reflection. And the first line is that we have to identify the need in school community. In this phase in our project, the data have been collected using quantitative web-based well-being at your work in the questionnaire from entire school community staff. It means cookers, teachers, this is all staff. And this questionnaire is based on content model based 4 aspects, and this is questionnaire was developed in the early of 2000, and it contains questions, background information, 10 questions, and questionnaire includes individual variables relating to the 4 aspects of occupational well-being. And this questionnaire has been translated in several languages, also Finnish, English, Estonia, and it has been developed during these years also. And the contemporary and creative questionnaire can identify development needs and target the occupational well-being development actions. After identifying the need, the step is the development actions. And our research's occupational well-being group has been set up, and the action plan has been drawn up based on the results which has been collected, the well-being at your work in the questionnaire. And after that, every school has formed the occupational well-being group, which consists of workplace personnel, for example, 4 to 6 teachers and other staff, and they are responsible for ensuring occupational well-being, and they make an action plan for the operation in cooperation with the entire staff. That is ideal. And action plan consists of things like aims to action, means, persons in charge, timetable, costs, and based on results, developed target and interventions are selected, and here are some examples from the activities. I mean, what intervention we have done, for example, working condition area, working community area, workers' resources and work area, professional competence area. And here are some references from our project, where is more from development activities if you want to read more of them. And we have also examined using a systematic review what kind of intervention by educators to promote individual occupational well-being. And this systematic review was conducted in autumn 2020 using 5 different databases and resulting in 13 intervention studies. And the qualitative and the narrative analysis was used to summarize these data. And the results: occupational well-being promote intervention using physical and psychological exercises were found. These exercises included activities such as moderate exercises, posture improvement, voice trainings, and meditation. And the review provides insights into possibilities to promote educators' occupational well-being in different working surroundings, even when remote working. And then the next step is in the article Action Research Circle are midterm assessment and post-test. And midterm assessment, we have often used qualitative methods like interviews, and post-test we usually use the same questionnaire than at the beginning of the project. So we compare the results then. And here is benefits. What are, for example, short-term benefits, which are long-term benefits, and the main goal is occupational well-being of teachers and the whole staff. And finally, I tell a few results of social and healthcare teachers' occupational well-being. I think that the problems are often same, like on the teachers or staff in comprehensive school and so on. We have done the large quantitative cross-sectional study in autumn 2020 to the social and healthcare teachers in Finland, and this describes and evaluates occupational well-being and related factors in national level in Finland. And the results are on the next slide. So here you can see that mean personal occupational well-being is 33.2, and the general occupational well-being of the work community is mean is 2.6. And I think that situation is not so good. Earlier research we had better results, and we think that we need development actions in the future. And the next slide you see that this is a factor analysis from the data we have used. We have done basic questionnaire. I tell you from the well-being at your work index questionnaire, and you can see how many different factors have been connected to occupational well-being. So working conditions, there is, for example, indoor air temperature, working space, and so on. Work community management and information, work collegiality and work atmosphere appreciation, and so on. I tell some results from work community on the next slide. And there is the need for development, for example, information of changes, rewarding work, organization of work, and orientating new workers. So you see that here is disagree and yeah, yes, it is disagree and disagree. So and circle in blue, you can see things that which well, colleagues are helped and supported, and employer is valued, and work is in the community is important and meaningful. So it is very important that workers think that their work is very important and meaningful also. So that was shortly. So thank you to you, and I'm yet sorry of the problems, but I hope that you can ask if you have some questions now, please.
Thank you so much, Terhi. You really have a long-term experience on school staff occupational well-being research, as we can hear, and you have also developed the theoretical basis a lot. So do we have any comments or questions to Terhi? I think we can have one or two here in the end of this webinar. Well, I could ask you something. For example, this, because I have also done action research in my research studies. And when you're talking about developing the school community using action research, so what do you think that it's important in that approach in your studies?
I think that very important is staff participation in this process, and then it is very important that leader support this process very well. It means that leader support is very, very important. I think that it is the most important thing in this process.
Yes, I think I can agree as well, to get committed persons to, because you have to commit for quite a long time. It's not just one cross-sectional study what you have to do in the schools, but you are trying to develop things also. But Kevin, you have something to say, please.
Thank you so much, Terry, for this great presentation. Same here, it gives us a good food for thought, and I'm also grateful that you provided a kind of model that guided you through all the studies that you did so far. When looking into the model, the content model for the promotion of school community, staff and occupational well-being, and especially this one, exactly this one, the one before, the slide before. No, 2 slides, slide 14, I think.
You mean
this one? Exactly, because this is a little bit more elaborated with regard what you understand with worker and working community, because you have a little bit more subtitles here. And then I was thinking a little bit whether you could apply this model to the current COVID-19 situation, because immediately I had some ideas in mind what it means in times of COVID-19 to have when you have a working community or you lose your working community. This relates very perfectly to what Veronica said in her presentation. But what the same with professional competence. Do we need a specific professional competence in times of COVID-19? So have you applied this model or some of these factors to the COVID-19 situation so far?
What Kevin was asking, that have you applied this model during the COVID-19, during the 2 years in the schools? Or I think we haven't done much research, at least action research in schools in 2 years, if I'm correct.
During this COVID time. I tell that this time the projects are more in social and healthcare, with the social and healthcare educators. So I think that this model is okay in this time also, but perhaps different things are more important than earlier. If you think, for example, working community, because we work much this time at home. It is there is different things which we have to remember and so on. But idea this model is that we have to be resources and workload factors in balance. And I mean that work can't be too easy, but too heavy. So it means it must be in balance in situation, in this situation also, in COVID situation also.
And that might not be so easy to have balance.
Yeah. But for example, I think that it's very important how we support workers who are working at home. And I think that the leadership is different in this time also, because we are working in the office or in the organization so much, and it is challenges to the leaders also. Of course, we don't the situation before the COVID time.
Yes, that's research. That's how it goes. We cannot be prepared for everything. But now I have to close this discussion again. And Kevin, would you like to say some final words for the end of this webinar?
Maybe not concluding remarks, but mostly I would like to thank the two presenters, Veronica and Teje, for their wonderful presentation. The one presentation was a little bit more general, not very attached to the COVID-19 situation. And Veronica, you looked a little bit more to the very specific crisis that we are facing since 2 years. But anyway, I think both presentations complemented other very, very well. And we see a lot of overlaps in a way, and we found some overlaps here in this presentation. Maybe two messages that I have learned from today. First of all, the health promoting school approach is not only an approach, we know that very well, but we cannot say that too often. It's not only an approach that is for pupils, that is a complex intervention framework that is for all people working in school and with school. So also for teachers, non-teaching staff, but also for principals, but also for parents, etc. And this is a very important issue. The second one, and I refer to what Veronica has said, the health promoting school approach is a kind of solution, even in times of the crisis. And we should take it as a very flexible approach that can help us not only in times of COVID-19, but also in other crises as well. And hopefully we are not dealing with crisis the next years. And another issue would be, let's concentrate on the resources. This is something that you both have said during a presentation, and this is what health promotion is about. It's not only about the risks and the problems, it's more about the resources and the question, how can we support resources? How can we support people to become and stay healthy? So thank you very much. We hope to have our third webinar of the research group soon, not as the long distance that we had from the first to the second webinar. Thank you very much for your interest in this webinar. We will post it online, at least the presentations, on the YouTube channel of the School Sprouts in Europe network. So thank you very much. So,
yes, thank you very much. Also
bye-bye.
From my behalf, and bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.